Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to BWTM Sports. We are here with Uncle James Ali Bashir, the Honourable Uncle James Ali Bashir, and I've been noticing a lot of talk recently. Well, it's not even recent. A lot of trainers' names are getting thrown up. Anytime there's a disaster in a boxer's career or there's a setback in a boxer's career, you keep hearing the same names getting thrown up over and over and over again. We really want to tackle this so that we at BWTN Sports like to be informative and be able to bring insight and to uncover a lot of the misconceptions in boxing. And we have no better person to have in the room than Uncle James Ali Bashir, with over 52 years of boxing experience, knowledge and know-how, and has been to the top and knows what it takes to start from scratch and get to the top. So, Uncle Bashir, how do you feel when you are being compared or put in the same room of people that are, or trainers that are young enough for you to be their grandfather?
Well, that's what the life in general has become.
Mm-hmm.
There's no regard for protocol. It's mix a drink up and I'm ready to drink. There's no ingredients in the drink. It's like me comparing me to Brendan Ingle, mm-hmm. or Gil Clancy, Angelo Dundee, Sam Solomon, Jack Blackburn, all of those guys that came before me. I wouldn't dare to put myself on a pedestal next to those guys, because those guys came before me and I learned a lot from those guys. Mm-hmm. And I pay homage to those guys. The different things that they said and did during their careers, I bit off of that. I'd be a fool not to bite off of it. So I took a little bit from this guy, I took a little bit from that guy. And I don't have to make mention about what I took from them. That's my business. But I took things from them. Different things they might have said or done at any particular time. I took it and I put it into my own index and I said, this is what I can use, So I never put myself on their level, I just said, I'm a different kind of trainer, and this is what I'm bringing to the dance, but I have respect for it. But I think now everything is a flash in the pan. Life itself is a flash in the pan. I see young people all the time. They don't want to wait their turn. They don't want to wait. They want what they want now, and they're ruthless in their efforts to get it.
So you get the usual names come up. I want to go through that list of people that Anthony Joshua decided to visit when we were talking about heavyweight boxing, because a lot of people who are new to the sport in terms of their history of heavyweight boxing, in terms of tutelage and what it takes to train a heavyweight. So first one of the gyms he visited was Renaso, which was Canelo's gym. So to my knowledge, you have Canelo there, the pound for pound king. And then you've got Andy Ruiz there and Ryan Garcia. Andy Ruiz was like a new addition because he left the old trainer. I think Manny Robles, if I'm correct. Can you explain to me why first Reynoso's name would be put ahead of yours in terms of experience, know-how?
Well, I think because he's more known. I mean, he has Canelo Alvarez, and I think Canelo Alvarez put Reynoso on the map, and then with the other additions to his stable, so that makes him a notable personality in the boxing world. I think Canelo been with Reynoso a long time. I think he was from scratch. I think Canelo might have been with Reynoso for a while.
But the style completely changed. Because I remember Canelo used to fight one sort of style. He got beat by Floyd Mayweather, and he's changed his style completely to have more the Floyd sort of moves.
Well,
It doesn't.
I really.
Let me check that out. Go, keep going, Uncle.
I really have a lot of respect for Floyd Mayweather because Floyd Mayweather paid his dues. I mean, he stood the test of time. You know, whether a person likes him or not, he was a tough artist. You know, and he paid his dues. This man paid his dues. He went through hell and high water to establish himself as an all-time great. I don't know whether he's the greatest, but he is an all-time great. And he paid his dues. He went there. He never came in the ring out of shape. He went through hell and high water. You know, when it came time to prove himself, he did prove himself. He endured. He persevered, and he got the reward for it. You know, he's a very, 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 very outstanding fighter. And I think that he's a credit to the sport of boxing.
Okay. Okay, we've got here. So I'm just reading a bit more. Okay, so I'm just reading a bit more about Reynoso and Canelo. Okay, let me just get this a second.
Man, you gotta really look closely at Floyd Mayweather.
Absolutely.
You gotta observe what he did in boxing. Man, this guy was tough. Man, he stood the test of that. He did not fold in the trenches. You know, they rained down thunderstorms on him. And when the vision cleared, he was there fighting. You know, so you gotta give him credit. Big credit. Because to do what he did in boxing, is not easy. It's not easy.
Okay. Do you think trainers, I'm still doing the Reynoso research here. Do you think trainers that get good fighters into their gyms should automatically be given best trainer of the year awards over trainers that have built fighters from scratch?
Well, I mean, we're living in a pump and glitter world. The world is pump and glitter. The world, you know, just latches on to anything that's new and they run with it. You know, I think that he did a great job with Canelo. You know, I think that he has established Canelo as the best fighter in the world, pound for pound, at this present time. So you know, I guess it's justified that they put him in as trainer of the year. Maybe I think the second or third time he's been the trainer of the year. So you know, I got no problem with that. You know, he's established this guy, and Canelo is consistent. That's what makes Reynoso an outstanding trainer, because his fighter is consistent.
So obviously,
when you have a fighter, you want the fighter to be consistent, and in order to be consistent, then the fighter has to give his whole self, and the trainer has to give his whole self to the boxer, and the boxer to the trainer. And that way they're on the same page all the time when they go to the dance. And that's worthy of respect.
So Reynoso's been with Canelo from day one, it seems. So we've seen. So that's credit to him with Canelo. He's done it with Canelo.
Yeah. I think that they've been together since day one. So that's respect to him.
Mm-hmm. But does that?
I have great respect for that, you know.
But does that warrant him being in the sweepstakes for Anthony Joshua, training a heavyweight?
Well, like I said, you know, I said that the other day inside of a gym in New York, and I said training a heavyweight is different from training the other weights. And the guy next to me asked why. Yeah, it was another trainer in the gym. I don't know the guy's name, but I see him in the gym and with his fighter, and he said, "Well, why is it different?" Everything is different. It's more deliberate. It's at a slower pace, and it's more power. You understand? You're dealing with somebody that's 260 pounds, 240 pounds, 250 pounds that hits you, and you get immediate results. Whether you're the receiver of the blow or you're issuing the blow. So training heavyweights is different. It's a slower pace. You can't do the same thing. You can't train a heavyweight like you train a super middleweight.
If we look at Ruiz lost a lot of weight for his fight with Arreola, and Arreola almost knocked him out. He dropped him and hurt him pretty badly. Do you think A, he took off too much weight, Ruiz, and B, Ruiz is trying to fight like a super middleweight, i.e. Canelo?
I'd have to look back on that fight and review the fight. But I think there were some critical mistakes made in that fight, which allowed Arreola to nearly knock Ruiz out on 2 occasions in that fight. As I recall, on 2 occasions in that fight that Ruiz was in trouble. And I thought the scorecards were a bit off, you know, but that's water under the bridge.
Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz are talking about fighting. How does that go?
I think Deontay Wilder knocks out Ruiz. I think that Ruiz runs into a brick wall. Mess with Deontay Wilder, because Deontay Wilder is a wounded individual now. He's angry about his disappointing loss to Tyson Fury, and he wants to reestablish himself in the heavyweight division. I think that mess with Deontay Wilder right now is a very risky proposition. I think that Deontay Wilder is looking to reestablish himself, and Ruiz is a little guy, and I wasn't impressed with him in the Arreola fight to say that let's go after Deontay Wilder. I don't think so.
So going back to Reynoso now, what would Anthony Joshua be looking at? Is he looking at Reynoso, him training Canelo, and the success he's had Canelo, who's a middleweight, super middleweight, a push at a light heavyweight?
Of course, that's how it is in boxing. You understand? They'll look at a trainer's success with one individual, and then people will come and say, well, if he did that with him, then perhaps he can do that with me, and so on and so on and so on. But that's not the case. We saw that, what's the young man that trains Crawford?
Omac.
We saw that with him.
And Herring.
With his guy, huh?
And Herring.
Yes, Herring was like a fish out of water versus Stevenson. So it does not translate from one fighter to the other fight. Like I was speaking about Mayweather early on.
Yes.
Mayweather is a fighter. It's in his blood. He comes from a fighting bloodline. The father and the 2 brothers of boxers. So it's in him, honestly. And he established himself Because when you're in the trenches, you've got to pull yourself out of it. All right? You've got to come. You've got to make it happen. And Mayweather made it happen through thick and through thin. He made it happen. Shane Mosley hurt him badly. And God only knows how many other times Mayweather has been hurt in that ring. But for the most part, nobody ever knew he was really hurt.
Yeah.
You understand? Because he had the brain power.
Mm-hmm.
He had the brain power. He had the heart and the endurance to persevere. He had the heart and endurance and rationale to say, you know what, I'm in trouble right now. I need to do this. I need to do that. And he did it on a dime. Yeah. And that's where the true teachings comes out. The true teaching comes out. That's why I'm so against in the gyms a lot of what I perceive to be foolishness. Mm-hmm. Just a bunch of foolishness. You know, you have fighters doing this and, you know, doing things that's totally irrelevant to what's going to happen inside the ring on that critical night. Mm-hmm. I'm against that. And I tell Vlad Sarenka all the time, I'm against that. Mm-hmm. You know, you can do it if it pleases you. If it makes you feel better, you go do it. But don't try to influence me that I got to be a part of it, because I'm not. I'm telling you to your face, I'm not a part of that.
Mm-hmm. I understand that.
Because I don't think it's going to mean nothing on that night in that ring to fight. So I'm trying to relate everything that I can to the success that I'm going to have that night. All of the other stuff doesn't make sense to me.
Okay. What about, let's see, the next training he went off to, he went and saw Ronnie Shields.
Ronnie Shields been around a long time. You know, he's been around a long time. He hasn't been around as long as me, but he's been around a long time, you know.
In terms of his heavyweight resume.
I mean, he worked with the.
No, he worked a bit with Mike Tyson.
Main events, he worked with Lou Duva and Georgie Benton a long time. He was under those guys a long time. So yeah, he had to pick up some knowledge from those guys. Mm-hmm. You know, with the Evander Holyfields and Tyrell Biggs and those kind of guys. So yeah, he picked up some knowledge about that. But for the most part, his resume has been with smaller guys. But he has some heavyweight experience.
So we talked about Reynoso and his experience mainly with the smaller guys. And we know that now he's built Canelo from scratch. Then what about Shields?
Like I said, Shields been around. He's been around the block.
But who's he built from scratch?
I don't know. I really don't know. He's worked with Jeremy Williams. He's worked with Mike Tyson, a faded Mike Tyson.
Yes.
If you will. Tyrell Biggs and Evander Holyfield. But he worked with Duva during that time. George Benton. So he picked up, like I said, tricks of the trade from those guys.
Okay.
I mean, Benton and Duva have been around the block a few times. They have been around a lot of great fighters. So yeah, I'm sure he picked up some things, but I don't know his longevity as far as heavyweights are concerned.
Okay. I know that of course he's currently training one of the Charlo brothers. He's training Jamal Charlo at the moment. Yeah. That would be okay.
Yeah, he's worked with the Charlos.
Yes. So okay, next up, who else was brought up? Who else did he bring in? Yeah, there was talk in the UK of Anthony Joshua going to Shane McGuigan for tutelage. Shane McGuigan now is training Daniel Dubois.
And
I'll just say,
I think in my mind, you know, from my impression, it makes Anthony look weak. Mm-hmm. You know, he might differ with me, but I think it makes him look weak as a former champion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're going to search these people out, you don't want to do it publicly because it's sending the wrong message about him to other fighters.
Okay.
They're thinking they can tap into his mental psyche.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, your mental perception is a big part of boxing.
Okay.
I think it's the most important part of boxing, the mental perception. As a man thinketh,
so shall be. Yes. What do you make of Tyson Fury and Javon Hill offering their services to trade Anthony Joshua, and Joshua saying he would take up their services only if it's free?
You know, I mean, Javon Hill and Tyson Fury, they have an alliance. They have a chemistry. And for the most part, it's worked. But that doesn't translate into other fighters. I don't know about that chemistry. You understand? I mean, like I said, they had success together, but I don't know about the next person or how he's going to do the next person.
He worked with.
You got to ask yourself, what has Javon Hill done prior to that?
Who has he brought from scratch?
Who was, you know, I'm asking the questions that the inquiring mind would ask.
Of course, you've got to ask that question. If you're going to ask, if you're going to go to,
it's easy to come in. Easy to come in when a guy is made. When you gotta come in like I did with Jamil McCline, and like I've done doing with Maurice Harris. What I'm doing now with Vlasarenko, I'm coming from scratch. When Jamil McCline came into the boxing gym, he didn't know how a left hook from an uppercut, from an overhand right. And I worked with him tooth and nail and took him into his first pro fights. Maurice Harris, here's a guy that turned pro at 16 years old with no amateur background. And he went in and he competed with the best guys in the division before he had 10 fights. Before he had 10 fights, he's fighting Vaughn Bean and these guys inside of 10 fights. You know, then came and fought Larry Holmes, which most people thought he won the fight with Larry Holmes. And he did that. You know, I mean, people thought that he couldn't do that. So what I'm saying is that when you have a guy and you teach him from the very beginning, you know what he's capable of and what he's not capable of. Maurice had a problem throwing certain punches, and I would stop him from that. I said, no, don't try that. Because I realized he was not good at that. Every time he threw certain punches, he would get in trouble. So I said, leave that punch alone. We don't need that punch to be successful in the sport of boxing. Okay. And so I would have him stay away from it. You know, I would have him stay away from it. So I did that with Maurice Harris, Jamil McCline, and now I'm doing it with Vlasarenko. Vlasarenko now is 18-0, 15 KOs. People say, well, he ain't fought nobody. That's easy for them to say because they haven't taken no punches. You know, you don't get no 18-0 being no mailman, you know. You get 18-0 because you learning something about boxing. It's all the growth process. If you take a student that's in the 5th grade, you understand, and you compare him to people who's already in the 12th grade, you know, you saying, no, this guy needs to go through 6, 7, 8, 9th grade to get here with these other guys.
But Uncle, the same people that say who's he fought and who's he beat, the same people that if you turn around and say, look at Joe Joyce's resume, he's fought and beat, they'll say, oh, but Joe Joyce is too slow. These people, you can never satisfy them. You can never satisfy them. They'll always find an excuse.
Yeah, I realize that. I realize from my years of boxing, I realized that you can never satisfy it. It's always going to be some armchair scientist.
Yeah.
Who's trying to criticize fighters.
Yeah. So you just
but they don't look about what Joe Joyce did in the amateurs. They don't look about look for what Joe Joyce has done in the pros, what he does behind the scenes, those sparring camps.
Yes.
You know, people dismiss those kind of things, but those sparring camps can be brutal.
Mm-hmm.
They can take a lot out of fighters. In fact, I think that many of the fighters that go into fights now are already damaged goods just from those sparring camps.
Sessions. They're too hard.
Yeah, I mean, those guys be going at it on the sparring camp. Those
trying to prove a point.
Sometimes I've been thinking about how can we sell tickets just to watch these guys talk, you know?
That's how it is, because they want to prove a point in the sparring session. They're all there to have a prove a point now, rather than learn the technical things about the sport. You know,
they don't learn that. They go in there and they kill each other in the sparring camp.
It goes back. It goes back to having a teacher, though.
It's all right to have a Donnybrook every now and then, but you don't want that every sparring session. You know, sometimes tempers flare, emotions flare, and the guys get into a big shootout, big brouhaha inside the ring in training camps. All right, that's cool sometimes, but you do not want that kind of thing going on every day. You don't want that. The guy won't be no good.
Knocks years off the career. Absolutely. Okay, so the next name that keeps getting thrown about, Jonathan Banks.
Jonathan Banks has
Dillian White was with him and left him.
Huh?
Dillian White was with him and left him. He was with Klitschko, but I don't know. Ultimately, when we put the microscope on him with Klitschko, we just look at what he did with Brian Jennings, that fight, the instructions he gave to the corner of Brian Jennings, and then the way he just allowed Vlad to just waltz to a points defeat. There was no energy, no passion.
Like I said, these guys, first of all, Javen Hill and Jonathan Banks, they can be my children. They could be my sons. You know, so I wouldn't compare myself to them. Knowledge-wise, application-wise, I feel that they have so much more to learn about boxing. You know, I mean, they might have been in a good place at a particular time, been put in a position where they've been given the reins to lead a fighter. But you know, like I said, these guys could be my children. So I wouldn't compare myself to them knowledge-wise.
So why do you think you're put in the same room as these people? Is it a copy and paste environment where
I think it's the uneducated. I think it's the uneducated fan and pundits. It's the uneducated fan and pundits. Like I said, everything today is fast-paced. You know, you put it in a jar, shake it up, and I'm ready. You know, I labored in boxing. You know, September made 52 years that I've been doing it. I said, wow, in the blink of an eye, it's 52 years went by. Like.
Yeah.
I remember when I started this here, you know? When I first started this thing, I went into with the great light heavyweight champion, Matthew Saad Muhammad, a man whom I had great respect for. And by being in Saad Muhammad's camp, it led me to my tenure in the Muhammad Ali camp. You know, I didn't realize what was happening. It was happening so fast, you know. But I was with Saad and I went into Muhammad Ali's camp and I learned from watching. I learned from asking questions. I was never shy to ask questions. And that's why I think that I'm the trainer that I am, because I got a perspective from everybody. And I took a page from everybody and I combined it and I formed my own style of teaching. But I also learned that wasn't a whole lot of room for nonsense, you know?
Yes.
The nonsense that I see in these training camps, the training camps that I've been in around the world. I'm watching and I'm saying, what does that have to do with the fight that's going to take place? You know, I always question myself, what does that have to do with it?
Give me some examples. Give me some examples of things that we see in that you see in the boxing world that makes absolutely no sense, Uncle. Give us 5 examples.
When you see the guys stepping on the floor ladder, it's a ladder on the floor.
Yeah.
And it's stepping in and out, stepping in and out, stepping out.
Okay.
As Emmanuel Stewart said, and Emmanuel Stewart would say, that's some punk shit. What the fuck is they doing? What is they doing it for?
Okay, that's one. Next.
Just different things, man. I mean, you know, you got
the pads.
I can see a guy shadow box.
Mm-hmm.
But when you punch in the mitts and somebody is meeting the mitt right here, and you don't even get the punch out the pocket. You just tap the mitt, roll. And I'm saying, okay, how is that going to fare in a real fight? I don't think so. I think you get your head knocked off, but I don't want to step on nobody's toes. You think that's relevant? Go ahead and do it.
Okay.
But I think that's irrelevant.
Okay. It's not. It's not. It's not.
It's somebody. This bag, this big bag that they have, look like a teardrop, a giant teardrop.
Yes.
I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. Maybe I'm limited, but I think that's bullshit. To make money, the boxing companies are making money because they create something, and so they create it, people buy into it.
Mm-hmm.
Spend thousands of dollars on it. And I tell Lazarenko all the time, stop hitting that bag. That bag is, you're not going to find a human being built like that in the ring. Why are you hitting it? Because that bag is not representing a human being. When I'm punching a bag, I'm looking for things that I can do on a human being. First of all, a human being is not going to be 6 feet in the air. You know, you're talking about, well, it's good for uppercuts. You're going to throw uppercut way up there? It just doesn't make sense. I just don't like a bunch of foolishness. I don't have the patience for that. People say, oh, because you're an old school trainer.
Uh-huh.
Well, new school, and so you telling me the new school way is the best way. Those guys, those trainers that has come and gone, would roll over in their grave if they saw some of the stuff that's going on.
What about the ball that's attached to the head? The guy's punching the ball that's in front of them. What about that?
I can relate to that.
Right?
I can relate to that. You know, that's mostly like the European boxers like that. And I like it. I think it's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
For vision, for accuracy, you know, for consistency. I think that's relevant. You know,
okay.
So I'm all for that there.
What about the thing that the stick that I used to see with Don House shoes with Stavern, the boxing glove at the end of it, and he pushes it out like this, and he uses to slip the head for head movement?
I think it's bullshit. You know, I think it's a bunch of bullshit. You know, when you stick the jab, you know, that stick out.
Why? Oh, wait, Uncle. Why is this?
Let a person look.
That's what he punching it.
It means nothing. It's a rehearsed action. It's a rehearsed action. It's not going to make things get better.
Mm-hmm. I get you. I hear you.
It's the same thing if them hitting the mitt and rolling. You're not going to see them do that in the ring in an actual fight. You're not going to see them do that. First of all, they would be tired as hell after 1 or 2 rounds of that. Secondly, who's going to throw the right hand from here? Who's going to throw the jab from here? So I don't subscribe to that kind of pad work. Preferably, I like to just remove pad work, period. Because I think that pad work gives the boxer a false sense of security.
Right.
Nothing replaces shadow boxing and sparring. Nothing replaces that. So I'd like to remove pad work altogether. I do it because the fighters want it. All right, I can relate to it if it's done properly. But the way the pad work that I see it with the guys doing, they're doing it wrong. They're doing it, in my opinion. All right, in their opinion, they might find a justification for it, but in my opinion, they're doing it wrong.
Okay, I'm going to bring a fighter as an example to you, and you can tell me whether that is. If you've been trained, like I'm going to use Anthony Yarder's example of a fighter that Tunde Jai used. He's got different combinations and different things where they work on the pads and do the different things. If a fighter's done that long enough over a period of 10, 12 years, is it then difficult for them to change their style? I won't say overnight, but to reinvent themselves after doing this for so many years?
It becomes a force of habit.
Right.
All right. It becomes a force of habit. So it would be very hard for them to stop doing that at a certain time in their career. So they're doing it over time. You know, so yeah, it's very difficult to break away from that if you train like that there over a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there are certain preventative additions and subtractions from the sport of boxing
mm-hmm.
that should be installed throughout the world of boxing.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, this is a new breed of boxing, a new breed of trainer.
Mm-hmm.
I think that light heavies up. I think that they should use these are 20-ounce gloves.
Okay. Where can we get them?
These are my brand. These are 20-ounce gloves.
Where can we get them? Where are they available?
You can. They're available with Precision Craft Boxing. Me
on the website. On the website. On the website, or just you? So what? Looking at your pretty face is going to give me the gloves, huh?
Yeah, I'm making up a website now for this.
Okay.
What the point I'm making is there's a structure that I'm making the side and on the knuckle.
Yes.
These are 20-ounce gloves, and sometimes I make 22s. And they say, "Oh, that's unrealistic," and you know, why are you making gloves so big, and why are you trying to use it? And even around the wrist.
Yes.
I make different pads.
Strangely enough, my old trainer used to get me wear the heaviest gloves, but then when I used the lighter gloves to box with, my hands were much faster.
Right. But also, these gloves are designed so that my boxers don't
damage their hands
in the gym.
Yeah.
You understand? They don't beat each other to death with these gloves. These gloves are structured and specifically designed so that you don't kill each other in the gym. I don't take any pleasure in watching a guy get knocked out in sparring.
Right.
I see it all the time on the internet. You see what he did to him? Okay. You knocked the guy out in sparring. How much did you get paid for that? You understand? You knocked the guy out in sparring. So what? I mean, what do you get? A badge of honor for that?
You get recognition. People think, "Oh wow, this guy can fight. He can punch. I want to see his next fight."
You know, I think that in the Nigel Benn fight versus Gerald McClellan, I think Gerald McClellan was damaged goods when he got to the fight.
Yeah.
I think there was something
wrong with him.
Nobody will ever know. But I think that Gerald McClellan was already hurt, already damaged when he got to that fight.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I mean, because in Philadelphia, in Detroit during that time, the sparring sessions
were yeah.
The sparring sessions were brutal, and that's how I learned not to engage my boxers in that kind of stuff. But I always taught the guys, I always. Huh?
That was the Emmanuel Stewart thing, though. A lot of the rumors I heard around the Kronk gym, but that was it. You had to go into walls of the Kronk gym. That's how you made yourself to be a fighter. That's how you made your brand and your name, surviving those wars.
I had Monty Barrett boxing Jonathan Banks as a young guy.
Yeah.
Jonathan was a young amateur then, and they were Monty Barrett nearly knocked Jonathan Banks out in that gym. And I went to Emmanuel right in there. He dropped Jonathan Banks. He dropped him, but Jonathan was a young, green guy. Monty was already a seasoned professional.
Right.
But the Kronk atmosphere was causing Jonathan to act aggressive. And Monty told me the round before that day, I said, look, this guy keep jumping on me. What I'm supposed to do? I said, well, let's work with him. You know, he's a young guy, work with him. But Jonathan kept jumping on him. And impulsively, Monty hit him and hurt him, you know. But Jonathan was a green young guy, and he got hurt in that instance. And I was saying right then and there, and I told Emmanuel, I remember, I never forget that day. Emmanuel came up to me and said, let me see those gloves. The white gloves. He said the gloves that Monty was wearing. I said, yeah, take them. I said, 18, they're regular 18. What are you talking about? I got offended. I took offense to Emmanuel saying that to me. He came to me that day and said, let me see those gloves. As though the knockdown that Monty got on Jonathan Banks, Jonathan couldn't have been older than 17, 18 years old. But he was still a big kid, you know? And Emmanuel said, let me see the gloves. Like I had put on some illegal gloves
to go spar with
to achieve getting a knockdown
against Jonathan Banks.
I took the gloves and I angrily said, here, man, take the gloves. Take a look at them. I said, they're 18-ounce gloves. And then I snatched the gloves back and walked away because I got offended by it.
What did he say to you?
He was just looking at the gloves. You know, it wasn't nothing to look at, but he had to
do it just to.
No, he had to create
something.
Because he was the guru. He was the guru of the Kronk gym. So when Emmanuel said, give me the gloves, it's not the fact that he found something wrong. He just made everybody in the gym look like something was wrong. Emmanuel examined his glove
to cover his back.
Emmanuel examined the glove, so this guy must be doing something
illegal. To cover his back.
You know, I'm like
reverse psychology, bluffing.
I got so pissed off that day. I snatched the glove out of his hand and just walked away. I said, man, this guy is a riot. But Jonathan was a young guy.
Yeah.
He was a young guy, and he ran into I forget what it was, a left hook, a right hand, something that put him down.
Something that wasn't nice.
When he tried to get up, his legs was wobbly. He couldn't get up. But he was a young guy. And I told him, man, the couple rounds prior to tell him to calm down, slow down a little bit. But the atmosphere in the Kronk gym was pumping him.
Okay.
Left hook right here. Come back. Left hook right hand. Left hook right hand. You know, people was pumping him.
Yeah.
Jonathan was a young guy.
Impressionable.
Impressionable, you know? Can you hit East?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got East. Impressionable.
Yeah. He was impressionable. So, you know, it happens. But I'm not a fan of that kind of sport.
Okay. I want to bring something to your attention that I mentioned to you the last time we spoke. Alexander Usyk, your former fighter, he actually has responded I don't know if he's obviously been watching our videos for sure. And I'll come back to why I know he's watching our videos. But he's actually did a video mocking Anthony Joshua, standing up, doing that. And Usyk's mocking him.
Usyk is mocking him.
If Usyk was mocking him, there's a video of Usyk going, laughing. That's not good, is it? That's not a good sign, is it? That's not a good sign.
I keep telling people that I'm an Alexander Usyk specialist. And I'm telling you that Joshua is going to see a whole different guy. Joshua said he's looking to improve his program. Well, guess what? Usyk is always looking to improve his program. He's always looking to rise up. I know the guy. I know him through and through.
The Ukrainian press took our last interview, or the Russian press, Ukraine, the Tribuna, and a few others, boxing, UABOXING,
Yeah.
Ukrainian boxing. They've taken it in. The Tribuna and a few other Russian outlets have taken your recent interview where you said that if Joshua doesn't change his ways quickly, that Usyk will kick his ass again. That was taken literally, the words that you said, from the art, and it was two of the articles were released today. So the Ukrainian press, the Russian press, are reading and listening to everything that you're saying. Do you have a message to them, the boxing people of Russia and Ukraine and that whole area, the Eastern Europeans, because they know their boxing and they love.
As far as I'm concerned, you know, and like I said, you know, I traveled much of the world during the time that I was with Emmanuel Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
So I traveled to a lot of places in Eastern Europe. Mm-hmm. And I've been around everybody in Germany, France, Switzerland, Sweden, you name it, I've been there. But in my opinion, the Ukrainian fighter, the Russian fighter, has got to be the most durable boxers on the face of the planet today. I think that those guys are in a prime position because a lot of their attributes, not just their boxing attributes, but their mentality, mm-hmm. their discipline, their focus, they're in a prime position today to become the premier boxers in the world in every division. Mm-hmm. If they believe, it all boils down to belief. And when I say believe, you got to be willing to endure to get your way. But I think that those guys are the premier boxers in the world there. I think that they can take over boxing. I think they can.
Okay. Moving on. Canelo versus Caleb Plant. Undisputed Super Middleweight Championship of the world. You've got a lot of people rooting for Plant. Andre Ward's been helping him. Mayweather's rooting for him. Why do so many people want to see Canelo get beat? The pound for pound number one, they say, why do they want to see him get beat now? Why don't they want to see him become undisputed? Why do they want Plant to be undisputed? Apart from the whole PED saga, which is a big saga.
My thing is that they hate on Canelo because he's good. I think that the people that want to, don't get me wrong. I think that Plant is a fine fighter, very good fighter, very tough fighter, mentally, physically tough. But I don't think he can beat Canelo. Not because of boxing style, because of the mentality. I don't think he can beat Canelo. But Canelo got ambitions about being one of the greatest boxers of all time. But right now, I think he's on the right track. I think that he stops Plant in 9 rounds or less. I think he stops him.
Why?
Because Plant wants to establish himself as the front runner. So he's going to do things that he might not normally do. You understand? To prove himself to Canelo. But when he finds out that he can't hurt Canelo, that's when the ship is going to start going downhill.
You don't think Canelo, you don't think he can hurt Canelo?
I think Canelo can box as good as Plant. Plant is a beautiful boxer, but I think Canelo can box just as good as him. And I think that Canelo is going to be more deliberate in his stance. When I say more deliberate, he's going to stand there. He's going to stand in with him. He's not going to give him a lot of room. He's going to stand there with him and say, all right, you give me what you got, and I'm going to give you what I got. We're going to see who stands up after that. Canelo, inside of 9 rounds.
I've always thought if you're going to beat Canelo, tell me if I'm wrong, but if you're going to beat Canelo, you've got to stay on him for 12 rounds, literally have his back against the rope for 12 rounds, or you've got to be on the outside of him. And when he wants to fight, you box him. When he wants to box, you fight. You never box back straight up from him. When he wants to take a break, you're on his ass. When he wants to box, you fight him. But you keep constantly having turning. Have him keep constantly turning.
If I was training somebody to fight Canelo, I would do a mixed attack. I would box, and I would pick my spots to slug. And I'd resort back to boxing. You got to trick Canelo. You can't go in there and just do one thing.
However, I don't. Okay, check this, Uncle. What about him being on Canelo's chest for 12 rounds? Back against the ropes on Canelo's chest. Because Canelo, it seems to me, can only fight in bursts. He doesn't fight consistently for 12 rounds at a pace. He'll and he'll stand and look at you and may take a jab and take a time off. But if you're on his back for 12 rounds, with his back against the rope for 12 rounds, he doesn't get leverage to throw those big shots that he normally can throw if he can keep him on the ropes all the time. Like on Andre Ward, for example. Ward would stay on his chest. Your thoughts?
Andre Ward would beat Canelo. That's one fighter that I believe that would beat Canelo. In fact, I think he's the only guy that could probably beat Canelo.
Lara.
Oh, you don't want to see no Lara. I mean, but he's not by himself. Because I don't think the Cholos want to see this guy. I don't think the Cholos want to see him.
Really? You don't think so? I would love to see. I would like to see Jamal fight him, but I just don't think Jamal's ready. I think Jamal could beat him, but not now. I think he needs that interim fight. I think he needs to fight a Gennady Golovkin.
That Cuban southpaw will cause problems.
For who? For Canelo? Oh yeah, it caused him problems. It caused him problems. A lot of people say Lara beat him.
You know, Lara is a problem.
He's a serious problem. Nobody wants to see him.
What's the other junior middleweight that beat him?
What's that?
Lara, the guy that beat him, the junior middleweight, former champion.
Isn't that Junior Williams?
No.
Hurd.
Yeah. Hurd beat him.
Yeah.
Hurd beat him. Lock, stock, and barrel. Hurd beat him. You know? Hurd stood in and he did what most fighters are not willing to do. He beat him.
Yeah.
He beat him clearly. And then fell off down the road. Another guy that needs to get a teacher. Because I think Hurd could be a very, very good fighter.
But would you say that Hurd was a bit of a weight bully?
Huh?
He was a bit of a weight bully. Because he was a big guy at the weight. He used that as part of his style.
I saw him somewhere, Las Vegas or Miami. I saw him somewhere and I said, this guy's a junior. I was looking at him.
Nah, he ain't no junior middleweight.
About 5 feet away from him, I said, this guy's a junior middleweight.
No chance.
I mean, he got these big shoulders.
Yeah.
Big back. I said, this guy's. I kept trying to rationalize my mind. I said, this guy's a junior middleweight, 154 pounder. The guy looked at every bit of 180 pounds when I was looking at him.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
he's a big
saying.
guy.
He's a big guy.
So he must be starving himself to make that weight.
But he was a weight bully. He was using that weight and that advantage.
I saw the fight, the Ennis fight the other night. I saw that.
I don't rate that boy, you know. I don't rate him, Uncle. I don't rate him. Although I had him on the show, I don't rate him.
But I want to make a point.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the Ennis fight, and after the Ennis fight, that there was another welterweight guy that fought.
Yes.
And this guy was 6'1".
You were telling me about him.
He came into the fight at 145, and at 6'1", I said, this guy, maybe he knows something that I don't know. But coming in at 145, he must be a dynamite puncher. You know, because if he's not a puncher, he's going to have problems going down the road.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when he get around 6th, 7th round of a tough fight, and the guy that he's fighting was pretty aggressive.
Mm-hmm. So
that's what I'm talking about, trainers and stuff. Why would a trainer bring a guy at 6'1" into a welterweight fight at 145? I kept trying to flip that in my mind. Why would they do that? Why didn't they let him eat all the way to 147?
Was it not? Was there a clause? Maybe he had to be in it. Was it an IBF title fight? He had to be in at a certain weight.
It was a WPA fight.
Oh,
it's a WPA fight, and there's no clause that's gonna stop the guy from eating up to 147. Those 2 pounds made the difference in him winning or losing.
Yeah.
During the fight, the guy kept complaining about his legs. Yeah, I guess you are. I guess your legs are going on you because you those 2 pounds that you left in the locker room. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I gotta get to a ad machine.
Okay.
I mean,
we're closing off in about a couple of minutes, Uncle. So
yeah. And, the guy said, those pounds that you left in the locker room. Wait a minute. Mm-hmm. Wait a minute here. Get some power, some juice here. Those pounds you left in the locker room, they were definitely needed during the close of that fight. Mm-hmm. And the referee just stopped the fight because he was just out of gas. Mm-hmm. You know, he's just out of gas. No power. You know, there was no power, out of gas.
Mm-hmm. The final thing I want to talk to you about is something I read from you. I could have misread this. Are you working on another heavyweight called Vitali? Maybe I'm wrong. Vitali?
Who?
Vitali. A heavyweight. Ukrainian.
I'm working with a Ukrainian heavyweight right now, you know.
Vitali, his name is?
He's the best kept secret in modern boxing. His name is Igor.
Igor.
Igor Plevetko.
Plevetko. Okay.
Yeah.
Igor Plevetko. Amateur, pro?
Pro. 7-0. 7-0 with 4 KOs.
Okay.
He's a good young man, very studious young man. I love working with him. Ukrainian boxing is a different breed of boxing. I love working with him.
So is this a consultation thing, or is it actually a real?
No,
he's part of you.
I've been training him nearly a year now.
Jeez, I know you did talk about him something before, but wow, okay.
I'm gonna send you. He speaks English. He speaks English pretty good.
Send him over to me. Well, I'm nice to have a little chat with him.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
And
I appreciate working with him.
He's a heavyweight?
I had him. He's a heavyweight.
Okay.
But he's a heavyweight that can fight cruiserweight. He can fight bridgerweight, or he can fight heavyweight. He's just that kind of guy. His body, his weight can fluctuate, you know.
How tall is he?
6'4".
Okay, good height. Weight?
230.
Okay. Bit of a mover?
Huh?
Mover? With that weight and that height, sounds like he's a bit of a mover. Jab and move kind of guy.
I don't know what he is. I really can't say. You know, but he's more of a sit down puncher than me. I see him as a puncher.
Right.
You know? I see him as the kind of guy that wants to sit down and punch.
Okay.
I don't know about his power, what kind of power he's going to make the difference with another fighter, but I think that he can punch.
Okay.
I think that he can punch, you know. In my opinion, I think he can punch.
Okay, when you work with Vlad at 7-0 and you've worked with Igor 7-0, can you give me a comparison, or is it not good to compare?
Vlad is more deliberate. Vlad is more deliberate. Igor is going to be more of a boxer, but Vlad is more deliberate. Vlad wants to sit down and he wants to make contact right away. He wants to put that weight on you right away to see what's going to happen.
Okay.
You know, Igor is a bit more of a scientist. You know?
Bit more tricky.
Yeah. But Vlad wants to make contact right away. He wants to put some meat on them punches, and he wants to see what happens.
So you know what next question? You know what next question I'm going to ask you, right? The obvious question: has Vlad and Igor sparred before?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I had them spar. In fact, we were in Ukraine about 6 months ago. They were sparring.
How did that work out?
Oh, it was heated. It was always heated. It was good sparring.
That's good to hear.
But they didn't brutalize each other.
But
they got good sparring. They got good sparring.
Well, good to hear. Well, we want to have the exclusive on that guy. So get me Igor. Bring the Igor to me.
Yes. Yes. He can speak English pretty good. You can communicate with him.
That's good. That's good. I will get Mr. And can you confirm with us now, Vlad Tsarenko versus Marius Fak?
I'd like to see that, Marius Fak and Vlad Tsarenko. But I'm not really enthusiastic. But I think the fight is going to be an ugly fight.
So what's the fight that's going to happen in December then? Who is Vlad fighting in December?
I'll send you the name later. I'll send the name later to you. I'm trying to think of the name now, but I can't think of it. But I know that this guy has fought a couple of guys, a couple of notable guys. I think that he fought Joe Joyce.
Okay. Did he fight
Joe Joyce?
Did he fight a Jagba? Did he fight a Jagba?
Tony Yoka.
Okay.
He might have fought a Jagba. He might have fought a Jagba. I'm not certain.
If it's the same guy we're talking, that guy's quite decent, quite handy. If it's the same guy, I hope it's not. That guy. Yeah,
this guy's been around the track a couple of times. He'll stand in, but he won't beat Vlad Tsarenko, but he'll stand in. I don't think he'll beat him.
Okay.
You know.
All right.
But it's the good experience for a young fighter coming up.
One more fight I'd like to mention to you that's just been mentioned. I think it's a suicidal fight for one fighter. Tony Yoka versus Martin Bakole.
That's coming up?
Yes. I think Tony Yoka's gonna beat the crap out of Martin Bakole. He's too open. He takes punches on his chin like he's a goalkeeper. Can't be doing it against Tony Yoka.
What is that fight scheduled for?
I think it's either end of this month or early next month.
It's a December fight.
Yeah, I think so. Late November, early December.
And Bakole is what? 6'6"?
Yeah. Yoka's gonna beat the crap out of him, Uncle. That's what I see. He's too defensively open.
We've been in a few camps for Tony Yoka. He's a good fighter.
Yeah, I like Tony Yoka.
He's a good fighter. He's definitely a legitimate fighter. You know.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to seeing that fight. Let me know when it comes.
All right, I'll give you the details of that as well. But I would not have Martin Bakole take that fight. No way. No way. Absolutely no way.
How old is Martin?
Must be maybe 34, 35, maybe. But maybe he's in his early 30s.
Well,
I could be wrong. I'll tell you. I'll find out for you.
Yeah. I'd be 34. You can understand the rationalization. They got to take the fight. If you got to, you know, as they say in America, piss or get off the pot.
How old is Martin Cole? Oh, tell a lie. He's only 28 years old.
He's 28?
Yeah, according to this, he's 28. I don't believe that, though.
Oh,
He's 28. I don't believe that. He's African, isn't he? So I don't believe he's 28. He's probably more 30, 35. But if he's to say he's 28, then he's from the Congo. I don't believe he's 28. He don't look like 28 to me. But I could be wrong.
Is it 28?
28. I don't know about that bit. But if he's 28,
where's he from?
Congo.
Where's he from?
He's from the Congo.
Uh-oh.
I don't. He can't. He ain't 28. He might tell you he's 28, but I don't think he's 28. What do you think, Uncle? You don't look 28 to me.
They don't do birth certificates down in the Congo.
No, they're all in Cuba. I don't think so. Because listen, there are. I can tell you now, in Africa, in sport, I know that 18, 19, and 21-year-olds are taking part in under 15 tournaments. Can you understand that? Can you understand that?
No, that's crazy.
That's what I'm saying to you. So
just mental strength. Mental strength makes a difference. When you're 21, 22, and the guy's 14, 15, it's a big difference.
Big difference, yeah. Of course it is. Of course it is. So, all right, Uncle, thank you so much for talking to BWTM Sports as always. And
yes, it's a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Once again, I want to say thank you to UABOXING and also Tribuna Boxing or Tribuna News and all the Russian and Ukrainian press that are covering BWTM Sports. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, the Ukrainian fighter is the fighter for tomorrow. I'm telling you, those guys got something. They got some different things in their culture, in their mentality, in their discipline, and they are the fighters for tomorrow. You got to keep an eye on the Ukrainian fighters because they going places.
Oh, by the way, how do people contact you?
I'm in Ukraine more than I'm in America, so you can find me in Kiev, Ukraine.
Okay, Uncle, sounds great. Talk to you soon. Thank you again.
Oh, you know all my handles. Put them
I do. Of course,
on the website. Put all my handles on there, all right?
No problem, Uncle. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Ali Bashir signing out.